What's the most generic sounding name for a game? If you guessed Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, you would be correct. And that's what we're looking at today. The rules are simple. To gain our freedom, we must take down the gods. So will we be trapped for all eternity, or will we be free? There's only one way to find out. Welcome to the Conqueror's quest for Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. RAMMUHA is first on our hit list. I felt like I was always running out of ammo on my first few attempts. They seem to love to spam their red unblockable move most out of all gods we've faced. Make sure to squeeze in as many small hits as possible to regain your bullets because you will definitely need them. You could try to dodge the hits, but I felt like there was a half a second of lag before you actually start to dodge, so I would always end up getting hit more than dodging successfully. But maybe you have more luck than I do. I also don't know why the first time I brought it down to its knees it didn't get rid of the stone shield, but I don't think it made much of a difference with bosses. You pretty much do the same amount of damage regardless of if they have the stone health bar or a red one. But we keep to the hit 'em and shoot 'em cycle, and eventually we beat RAMMUHA. There we go. DUKMAR is the second god you need to take down. This god killed me the most out of all of them. It took me a very long time to learn how to dodge their moves, mainly because you shouldn't be dodging, but jumping instead. Once we figured that out, the fight became so much easier. Their moves can be telegraphed pretty decently, but the smallest mistime and you were hit hard. 2 to 3 hits and you were dead. Anytime they go up in the air, remember to shoot them to bring them back down to earth. And as long as you remember to jump, this one should be pretty straightforward, and will be another distant memory. INAYA was a pain in my ass. Not because they were difficult or anything like that, but because the fight was actually bugged for me. In my first attempt, I actually brought her health down all the way, but the finisher gun move never triggered. At first I thought maybe it was a gimmick where she'd have a second phase, but after 4 tries I knew something was wrong. So I killed myself to see if it would be fixed in the next run, and unfortunately it was still broken. I had to restart the whole game before things actually started to work. And as you can see here, it's a pretty meh fight. Just like all the others if I'm being honest. Hit 12, hit 12, hit 12, and occasionally you blast her with your rifle. There wasn't really any strategy that you need to use here, you could probably beat her with your eyes closed. There we go. Uru is the final god you have to face. They are big and fast, and you know what that means. We'll be fighting the camera more than the actual boss. There were too many times where they would fly up or teleport to the sky and you would have no idea what move they were about to do. All you could do is pray to the gods that you wouldn't get hit, which would explain why we always got hit. My first few attempts I was getting nowhere. My hammer build was doing barely enough damage to get me to the second phase, so I made some drastic changes and switched over to the fire axe. And since Uru didn't have any stone shielding, it actually worked pretty well for this boss. But of course, once you reach the second phase, things dramatically change out of your favour. Enki evolves into some bigger form, which sounds cool, until you realise that means all the points you spent learning his moves means nothing now. So be sure to respec just before the fight and remove all of Enki's powers. We don't like him anymore because he thinks it's too cool to hang with us. Remember the bug that stopped me from doing my finishing move with INAYA? Well, good news, it's back for Uru as well. These types of bugs really kill any bit of fun I was having with the game, and if I'm being honest, it wasn't much fun to begin with. I was having constant inputs not being registered, enemies not dying properly, and just getting stuck on the weirdest objects in geometry when trying to do the platforming parts. This game needed a lot more time in the oven before it was released. But it's all done now. I eventually get the finisher working on Uru, and now we are finished with the game, and on to everyone's favourite segment, the stats that nobody asked for. In total, we had 75 deaths in the game, 24 of those came from the gods, and with 4 gods, that brings us to a kill-death ratio of 0.17, which is the same as we've had for Neo. Interesting. And if you made it this far, you might enjoy this next video, but be quick, time's running out.